And I think this subject of feelings has been with me since the beginning of my journey with Baba. I actually did the course in Tennyson Road, London. The world headquarters of the Brahma Kumaris was Tennyson Road, London, with three sisters there, Daddy Jenki, Sister Genti, and Sadesh Didi also. And it was a magical moment in my life. And I think the knowledge, like for all of us, just penetrated me, excuse me, so deeply. The soul, the supreme soul, the understanding of time. But very, very quickly, I realized that big question that Madhvi mentioned right at the beginning, that it was easy to know, but how long is the journey to bring it into my feelings? And really, I think in a way, this is one of the beautiful ways of describing our life, massaging the truth we get from God into our feelings so that really my feelings match my understanding. And this, I would say, is lifelong learning. I know that I'm a peaceful soul, but how long does it really take to feel that peace at each moment in my life? Not just when I'm sitting with Baba, but when I'm interacting with people, when I'm dealing with challenging situations. I know that I want to be absolutely loving, respectful, and have good feelings for everyone. That's the knowledge I know, that's what I want to be. But how long does it take for my feelings to catch up so that really I do become the embodiment of that love and respect and goodwill for, absolutely everybody. And I really do feel that, it's almost instant that I educate my intellect. My intellect can understand very, very quickly. But the education of my feelings takes time. And this is the amazing patience of this life, this incredible patience to just allow my feelings to come up to speed with my understanding. And I can remember, I loved the knowledge of drama. It just made so much sense to me. And I can remember in my early days that something would happen and my head would be saying to me, it's drama, but my heart was beating, boom, 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 boom. I felt nervous or I was quite influenced. So my head knew it, but it hadn't really translated into my feelings. And sometimes when I reflect on this life, I feel that the knowledge transforms my intellect, but yoga transforms my feelings. And what I'm loving about knowledge at the moment is that when I listen to the Moli, I sort of feel it's like a window into God's mind. And it's like I'm seeing how God thinks, how God perceives each part of this world, of time, of life, of relationships. And I love the idea that really I want to think like Baba. But sometimes my image of yoga, this highest union of the self with the Supreme, is like plugging the sacred thread of my intellect into an unlimited ocean of feelings, I can say. Who is Baba? Baba is the ocean of knowledge, but Baba is an unlimited source of pure feelings, divine feelings, benevolent feelings. And actually, it's the feelings that really fill me and sustain me deeply. And right from the beginning of my life as a BK, I've been fascinated by my mind and really how my mind works. And in a way, I feel my whole life meets in my mind. My mind is the venue where my whole life is playing out. My thoughts, my feelings, my memories, my reactions, my relationships. The whole story is playing out here. And in this most precious, sacred place within myself, there's two faculties or two functions, if I can say, of my mind: my thinking and my feeling. And one sister here in Australia who's a psychotherapist was saying there's this constant debate in the world of psychology about what comes first, my thoughts or my feelings. I don't think it really matters. But what I have noticed myself is that the power of feelings, when they instantly wash through my mind, trigger an extraordinary amount of response from my thoughts. And sometimes my thoughts are trying to deal with my feelings. The thoughts are trying to understand and deal with my feelings. And even sometimes I try to, think, out these feelings, try to work it out, think it out, what is really happening in my mind. And what I've really realized is that the great power in the human mind is our feelings. And Baba has come to educate us, to bring a mastery of my feelings through understanding and through love. And the more I go on, I feel that really what's happening when I remember Baba, the highest union of the human mind, the human soul, is this subtle thread of union with the one who's eternally constant and unchanging and benevolent. And when I have that union, what happens is that it's like I download these incredibly elevated feelings. I plug into the feelings, I download these incredibly sweet, light, pure feelings that fill my mind with that lovely warmth and lightness. And what happens? The thoughts that come out of that are such sweet thoughts, such pure thoughts, such elevated thoughts. I think when I first started, I used to sort of think myself into that space. But I find now the other way around, the more I really try to remember, the feelings fill the sacred space of my mind. And then those feelings trigger a quality of thinking, which really, touches me incredibly deeply. And, when I reflect on the journey of Brahman life, I sometimes feel that first Baba teaches us purity in action. Children, stop impurity at the level of action. Don't get angry, don't gossip, etc. And then as we move forward, Baba teaches us about purity of thought. And we understand that the millisecond that I generate a negative thought or a waste thought, the karmic response, the karmic effect, I lose my peace and happiness. But now I really do feel that Baba is teaching us about purity of feelings. And the millisecond also that I generate an ill feeling, a bad feeling, a negative feeling, a critical feeling, what happens to my stage? What happens to my spirituality? Instantly, I come down. And I really feel that this time, our whole study is about creating quality feelings in my mind through my relationship with Baba, and learning to maintain those feelings in the sacred space of my mind as I interact with the world through my sense organs. In the past, I see things and I allow it through my eyes, and it triggers a whole lot of thinking. And often my feelings react. I lose that stage. Or I hear a comment or a criticism. I let it into my mind, triggers a lot of thinking, and then the feelings follow. But I think our study now is to really hold these elevated feelings in the sacred space of my mind and learn the art of taking them into each part of my life. Then that's really when it's almost like I'm taking Baba's vibrations, Baba's feelings with me. And I often feel that's really what is sustaining me. And when I really reflect on these feelings I hold in the sacred space of my mind, the journey of feelings absolutely connected to the journey of relationships. And one image I have is we come to the end of the cycle. We are the old souls. And all of us in our memory track, in the subconscious of the soul, we have the whole spectrum of feelings. We have the capacity to be absolutely loving, absolutely benevolent, absolutely kind. And at the other end of the spectrum, we have the capacity to feel so easily hurt, so deeply upset, so deeply alienated or disconnected or excluded. And it's like we have the whole story sitting in my memory track. And when I come in front of people, all they do, others, is trigger what is already sitting inside of me. They become a messenger in a way to show me what's inside of me. They become an instrument. That's how I think of relationships now, that all the relationships, and each one when they come in front of me, their face, their vibration, their words trigger. And what triggers, what comes out and flows through my mind, the feelings, it's showing me what is really still in my story, what account I still have remaining. And this is why relationships are just so incredibly important, I feel, on this spiritual journey. And sometimes I think that when I become a BK, I think I'm a soul. I want to remember Baba. And yet in between me and this divine link, this perfect link with Baba, is this whole unfinished story of feelings that I've collected in my memory track down the Copper Age and the Iron Age, in this sort of interaction with so many different souls. And I think that, how do I respond? How do I respond when another individual becomes an instrument to trigger something that flows into my mind, the feeling emerges? The deepest habit we know in all of us is to project it back on you. But really, I would say one of the marks of a truly great, knowledgeful soul is that I reflect and I observe that I still have this feeling in me. You are just the messenger. You've become an instrument. And this is why I think Mama, whom we've been remembering the last month, often used to say, these sort of souls are your best friends. They're your teachers, because they become instrumental to show me what sort of feelings are still sitting inside of me. And so my story, my collected, accumulated internal feelings, the whole variety of them, are so connected to the story of relationships. And I think the story of healing my feelings is also the story of healing a lot of the stuff I feel in connection with anyone, the BKs or the world outside. And many times, I feel, what is the role of the Brahman family? The Brahman family will make me pure. The Brahman family will make me pure. If I can live in the heart of the family and maintain elevated, benevolent feelings. One of Baba's favorite themes is good wishes, good wishes, good wishes, good wishes. If I can do that, I know I've really deeply transformed. I've shifted myself deeply. But along the way, there will be differences. There will be conflicts. It's a part of our journey. At first, I used to think it shouldn't happen, but now I realize it's absolutely a part of my journey. Actually, that's not the issue. It's inevitable there will be differences. The issue is really, how do I respond? Do I fall into my old habitual pattern of the feelings of hurt, the feelings of rejection, the feelings of not being loved. And this just then reconnects with a whole deep story in my subconscious. Or do I really respond with Gyan and yoga and really try to learn how to create different feelings? And I would say that one of the most powerful things in my Brahman journey was the realization that every time I react to somebody, every time I take a little bit of sorrow from somebody, every time I feel hurt or I feel disrespected, I observe deeply the process. And what I began to realize was that I go back to my old story, my body conscious set of sanskaras, and I'm giving power back to my impurity. Each time I react with hurt or sorrow, I'm strengthening that which I'm trying to transform. And this is when I really realized, actually, when Baba says, children, good wishes and pure feelings, it's actually, it does help my relationships with others. But fundamentally, it is me. It's helping me come out of my addiction. I would say this addiction of reacting, generating a negative feeling, strengthening my impure sanskaras. And I honestly believe that the reason why many of us feel we're not really moving forward in this life is this. Because we keep reacting, we keep strengthening my impurity. So it's like I take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And then I began to observe that if someone behaves badly, if someone is rude, whatever, which is life, it's just life, it's going to happen. And I have goodwill. I generate good feelings, pure feelings, loving feelings, whatever it may be. What is happening inside of me? I'm going to a part of my sanskaras that's pure to generate those feelings. So what's happening? I'm strengthening my purity. I'm giving power to my soul conscious self. I'm empowering myself. And when I had this deep realization that each time I react, all I'm doing is empowering my old story. And each time I don't react and I maintain goodwill, benevolent feelings, I'm actually empowering my new story. And I feel this is really what Baba wants, I would say, more than anything. And this is why this family is so important on my journey of learning, this incredible life that all of us are on, this extraordinary journey at this time in the cycle of healing, of transforming. And so much of it is around my feelings. And, you know, sometimes I've asked my heart the question, well, you know how when you start Brahma life, a lot of your lifestyle changes. So there's big changes. You can see a lot of change. But as time goes on, it needs a very refined intellect to see, well, am I really changing? Am I really transforming? How do I know? You know, the benchmark for me is really observing, I would say, the purity in relationships, or if I can say, the feelings that I generate or the reactions to people indicate to me how much I've really moved forward spiritually. And as I was saying, others are the instruments, you know, others are the messengers to show really what's sitting in me. So if I still have the feelings of rejecting somebody, I still have the feelings of excluding somebody, not speaking to them, that sort of thing. If I have the feelings in the form of holding a grudge, if these sort of feelings are still part of my repertoire, my old story, to me, it's a sign that I still have tamo-pradhan feelings. I'm still holding on to tamo-pradhan feelings. I remember once Daddy Janki said, the most tamo-pradhan of all sanskaras is to reject another. I think we all know. I think the DNA of the human spirit is to belong. And when we belong to Baba, the healing that happens, but when we belong to each other, it's even a deeper healing too. To feel rejected, you don't belong, is one of the most hurtful feelings. So if I still have that capacity in me to reject, to give someone the silent treatment, to hold a grudge, or maybe that very dominating, controlling sort of feeling, it's actually showing me there's still tamo-pradhan feelings within me. What are tamo feelings? I would say the feelings of getting very easily upset. Little things happen, and I bring up all these feelings of upset, which Baba once said is a form of anger. Or even this sort of an attitudinal, the feelings of chronic criticism. I mightn't say anything, but my mind is always finding fault on others. So if I'm still sort of generating this quality of feeling, it's indicating I'm still in a place where some tamo sanskaras are still sitting inside of me. What are raja sanskaras? I would say preferences. You know, I like you, but I don't like you. You know, I like this behavior, I don't like this behavior. Well, it's okay. We know we will have certain, shall we say, awareness of what is correct behavior according to what Baba is teaching. But when I generate feelings of around that, then these preferences are like raja behavior. But what is sato feelings? These are genuine feelings of love, feelings of good wishes and pure feelings, feelings of suspending judgment and offering mercy to everyone around me. And I know everyone on this call, and you know, when you connect with London, London means Daddy Janki. How much was she adored in London? Adored is the word. Why? Because I think her feelings for everyone were so clean, so elevated, so pure. The sense of upliftment we all felt by that incredible gift from Daddy was unbelievable. And so even I would say, what are sato pradhan feelings? What are sato pradhan feelings? Sometimes we all have someone or a few in our life who have no good feeling for me. They have a very fixed or negative attitude towards me. It's one of the challenges all of us have to face at some point. And yet I don't resort to that sort of really very gross of feeling that if you're like that, then I'm going to be like that too. I maintain my self-respect. And I observe that there's not a lot you can do, but I generate good feelings. I hold my good feelings. The thing is that it's not about the other person. The other person is instrumental for me to see what sort of feelings I'm still holding, what sort of feelings are still sitting in the sacred space of my mind. And really, and I think this is why for so long Baba's teachings have been, you know, children, good wishes, good wishes, good wishes, good wishes, because they are the instrument to elevate me out of the attachment to reacting with old feelings, which root me back into my body consciousness once again. So I would just like to invite all of us listening, just for a couple of moments, maybe a minute or two, to reflect silently. Please don't move and please don't move around, but just really reflect on just a question to my own heart. Are my feelings still subservient to others? How much can I choose the feelings I want? So how much am I still a slave? Someone behaves a certain way and the feeling just kicks in. Or how much am I now, shall I say, choosing the feelings I want? Let us just for a few moments reflect quietly. Thank you so much, everyone. I think a few minutes like that just show the wonder of the human mind, that our thoughts and feelings are beyond time and space. And even though we're virtually sitting at all corners of the world, an atmosphere was created. I'm sure you could feel this sort of silence, this collective silence, which we all co-created. And we can't underestimate how these vibrations really influence our world. And sometimes I have the image. Just imagine if your feelings had colors. So each time you generate a feeling, colors just radiated out of your forehead into the atmosphere. So when you have loving thoughts, kind thoughts, really benevolent thoughts, these beautiful, beautiful colors just gently swirl into the atmosphere. And then imagine on the other side, if you have a really negative thought, an angry thought, a hurt thought, and the associated feelings, these negative feelings, all the feelings inside. And then out of my forehead, these really jagged, dark, sort of unpleasant, heavy-looking colors come. How attentive would you be to your thoughts? How attentive would you be to your feelings if everyone can see them? Actually, they can't see them, but they can feel them. Actually, one of my huge lessons in my journey is that really people can feel your thoughts. And sometimes, when I think of relationship, what's at the heart of relationship? It's communication. And what is the heart of communication? It's feelings. And you know that 80 to 90% of the impact of any connection, what is our life? Our life is relationship. And it's constantly connecting with each other. But 80 to 90% of the impact is nonverbal. It's your face and your vibrations. Your words are only 10 to 20%. And so when people get two messages from you, one is what they hear and one is what they feel, they will always trust their feelings. This is the huge power of feelings. The, the unseen world is actually the most impactful world. It's the most powerful world. And sometimes some of us wonder why I can't really get on with others, why I feel a block in relationships. I would say this is the reason. When I store or I hold feelings in my mind, I feel they're private. They're not. People feel your mind. Your mind is like a perfume coloring the atmosphere. People feel it. And that's where when I hold these feelings, I come in front of somebody and the feelings of what you said or did they come up into my mind, from my memory track. Then people don't get a completely clean feeling from me. And so my relationships aren't so successful. And really, my experience is that the Brahman family are so tuned into vibrations. And I think it's great. So many times in my journey, I've noticed that if my feelings aren't as clean as they should be, there's not that real sort of closeness, that loving feeling, which is such a beautiful part of this life's journey, because I am holding a little bit of rubbish in my feelings. And that's why I think the cleaner my feelings, people feel safe with me. People will feel comfortable with me. People will open up. I don't even have to say anything. My face and vibrations are like a message, because people do read our feelings and they can experience our feelings. And some years ago, I would say from about the year 2000, for 10 years or so, I would say that Baba's main theme that just kept coming back time and time again was about these good wishes and pure feelings. Baba would, constantly be talking about it. And Baba said something which had a huge impact on me. And you know how Baba says something so simple, but the truth has such a powerful impact. And Baba said, children, right is right and wrong is wrong, but don't bring it into your feelings. And that just clicked with me. That in a way I thought that is the best definition of a detached observer I've ever heard. Because we're constantly seeing behaviors, responses, attitudes, interactions. Some of them are good and some of them aren't so good. But if I keep reacting and creating feelings about them, negative feelings, then what happens to my stage? And what really happens is that my sense of justice kicks in. My sense that this is not right. So I justify my negative reaction. I feel it's absolutely okay. And yet I remember Baba said, they have made a mistake by their bad behavior, but you make an equal mistake by reacting to their behavior. And really, I think that this is something really deep. Right is right and wrong is wrong. But if I keep reacting to what is wrong around me, I'm deceiving myself. I'm giving power back to my impurity. And this is why Baba is saying, don't bring it into your feelings. This is the wisdom to observe it rather than absorb it into my world. And then my mind goes into turmoil. And I often feel if I want unity, and I feel it almost in our DNA like it is to be peace. Peace is a part of the DNA of the human soul. I would say harmony and unity is too. It feels right. It feels comfortable. We've known it for so much of the cycle. If I want unity, generate good wishes and pure feelings. If I want service to grow, this family to really grow, sometimes I feel I'm helping by seeing what's wrong. Now I can see what's wrong, but if I generate a feeling behind, and the feeling is negative, actually I'm contributing to disunity, and I'm contributing to holding back service. We can't underestimate the sort of the flow of energy from the mind when it's full of these benevolent feelings, these good wishes and pure feelings. The trap is that I feel justified. They did this, this is wrong, so I justify my reaction. Actually, that's self-deception. In Baba's view, I observe everything, but I don't bring it into the feelings to generate the old story, to give power back to the hurt feeling, bad feeling, ill feeling, critical feeling, negative feeling, etc. And one of my favorite mulis was about becoming an angel. And in that muli, I can't remember the date, I'm afraid, but an Avyakt muli, Baba said, children, the whole ascent in this life, going up or going down, is based on feelings. And Baba said that if you keep yourself within 5 feelings, it's almost like within the parameters of your mind, you make a decision. I'm only going to keep myself within these feelings. You will become an angel. Baba said automatically. And they were the feelings of, firstly, love and cooperation. Secondly, the feelings of benevolence. Thirdly, the feelings of zeal and enthusiasm. Fourthly, the feelings of belonging. And fifth, the feelings of soul consciousness. And really, I think it's like Baba gave us a recipe to go up, to constantly ascend. And that's almost like wisdom, isn't it? That yes, we are all deeply challenged. We are all deeply challenged by all sorts of attitudes and behaviors and inaccuracies. But if I let it pollute the sacred space of my mind, my elevated feelings, clean feelings, that's my problem. What a knowledgeful soul does is a knowledgeful soul learns how to sustain these elevated feelings as I go about, even when I get other feelings. Yes, this is a high destination, but our life is aiming for the highest. And that's why I think, you know, for me, I really love this aim to keep myself, you know, in the mix of those feelings. And I remember in that morning, Baba said, children, there's only one mistake you make that makes your stage go down. Only one mistake. When you change these loving feelings, these good feelings into other feelings. Just observe yourself. Observe yourself when your stage goes down. It's always triggered by changing feelings. And when these negative, these old stories start to come and pollute my feelings, then that's when the stage comes down. And yet when I sort of put myself under Baba's canopy, under his feelings, then that's when my stage really begins to rise and grow. And another of my favorite mulis was when Baba met, I think it was 13,000 mothers in Shanti Valley. Some of you will remember. Do you remember the season where they split it into different groups, and 13,000 mothers met Baba? Only in the Brahma Kumaris could this happen. And Baba said something so lovely. Baba said to these mothers, if you do one thing, just one thing, you will transform the entire world and you will become complete. You will reach that complete stage, that elevated stage, the stage of the angel, the pure self. That one thing, have good wishes and pure feelings for every single soul you come in touch with. Baba said, your job is to have good wishes and pure feelings for everyone. And then Baba clarified it and said, if someone has bad feelings for you, don't worry. Your job is to continue to give these good feelings. And I sometimes have this image, who are we in this world now? Really, what is our life? Our life is to remember one and become an instrument to spread these vibrations, these elevated feelings in the atmosphere, because they have the greatest impact. They have the greatest influence. And why we just love the daddies so much, because around them was just this orb of elevated vibes and feelings that just, that incredibly sweet, soul conscious love for God energy. How uplifting is that? Are those feelings? And so when Baba was speaking to these mothers, and I remember that in all those mornings around 2000, 2010, I used to study them every season, and I would summarize the messages. And the language translated into English time and time again. Baba said, children, no matter what someone is like. I couldn't believe, so often Baba was saying this, no matter what someone is like, you have to give them love and good wishes. No matter what someone is like, even if they oppose you, you have to give them love from the heart. Not superficial love, but love from the heart. I mean, Baba sets the bar so high, but why? So we clear this account, this old story of generating these negative feelings, these hurt feelings, these bad feelings that just bring my stage right down. Baba's trying to clear this mental karmic account we create with each other. Because good wishes and pure feelings is like clearing this account. The more I hold that, the more I understand this secret. That when I have good wishes, I strengthen my purity. When I have bad feelings, I strengthen my impurity. And it's probably that main reason why I feel stuck in this journey with Baba. And so no matter, I even remember Baba saying, even if someone is 95% fluctuating, probably that language means difficult, challenging, and 5% good, what should you focus on? I think that's why we're all here, because we have the highest teacher. And sometimes Baba sets a standard. We think it's just, is it really possible sometimes? But yes, it is. And I feel when I understand that it's my ego that keeps taking hurt and insult and disrespect. And when I really understand that game, and I don't take it personally, I don't, I used to have a little saying for myself, if ever I'm affected, only my ego accepts sorrow. Only my ego. If I'm soul-conscious, it's not going to hurt me. And I can sustain that. Those feelings would keep me full and really keep spreading the vibrations in the atmosphere. And I think that sometimes we then say to Baba, yes, Baba, I'm really going to make effort. Baba, I'm really going to, no matter what, I'm going to have good wishes. I'm sure all of us at different times have promised Baba that we're going to do that. And especially we all have certain individuals that challenge us, that seem to trigger our old story, our old feelings. We all have that. It's a part of our journey. And so we try and we try and we try. And it doesn't really work. And we say, Baba, I'm trying, but nothing's really changed in this relationship. And yet sometimes deep down, what are we thinking? We're thinking, well, you are a really difficult soul. You are a real problem, but I'll have good wishes for you. Don't worry, I'm having good wishes. Actually, they're not good wishes at all. It's more a knowing good wishes than a feeling good wishes. It has to be absolutely genuine. I was just really finishing that, how do I really fill myself with these pure feelings? And I would say that it's really like my connection with Baba. And over this COVID period, my whole my whole exploration, my inner research has been about remembrance. Because I often feel that the one who's the highest, the purest, eternally holds truth, is never influenced. There's one thing he tells us constantly, and that is to remember him. And in a sense, I've been thinking about what happens when I remember. I sit here in the forehead, and it's like there's a subtle thread that connects. The wonder is the intellect's beyond time and space. So my intellect can travel back in time instantly and feel totally what happened. My intellect can travel over to the UK, to Madhvi sitting there and connect. So it's like this incredible subtle thread is constantly plugging in. I plug into a memory, I plug into a behavior, and three things happen. Whatever I connect and I plug into influences me instantly. It's like I put myself under the influence as soon as I connect. And then once I'm influenced, I have a feeling inside. So if I connect with a person and I remember them and the relationship's a little bit difficult, the instant I connect, I'm influenced by that subtle discomfort, and a little bit of feeling of peacelessness comes in my mind. But when I remember Baba, it's like the subtle thread plugs in to Baba, the ocean of pure feelings. And it's almost like, what is yoga? I live stream Baba's energy into the sacred space of my mind. And I hold those feelings in my mind. And to me, this is the way to really keep my feelings buoyant, if I can say. And you know, my observation is when the subtle thread is really in love, connected, and I'm really under the influence of Baba, and it's like I live stream that purity of feeling into me, that vibration in my mind is what sustains me. That's my experience. That love, that belonging, that sweet feeling, that incredibly sweet, light, pure feeling that penetrates your mind. And when that feeling is in the mind, it sustains me. But it not only sustains me, it sustains everyone around me. My vibrations, the feelings emanating from the soul through the drishti, through the face, create a sort of an atmosphere. It sustains others, it sustains the atmosphere. You know, we all know when we'd meet Bap Dada, the incredible vibrations. When we even meet the daddies, it's almost like the soul is resonating on that frequency with Baba. Why? Because I'm remembering Baba and I'm under the influence of Baba's feelings. As soon as I plug into all these other things, I come under their influence. And really, I think our life is as though we're learning to be in this world, be responsible in this world, but not absorb all the feelings of this world. The more I'm with Baba, I observe and I stop this habit of absorbing, because our addiction, there's a negative vibration, I absorb it, and then I put the responsibility back on you. And to me, I feel that our life now, as the world is changing so fast, so incredibly fast, the world, our world at the moment is really to remember one and just be an instrument of these divine feelings, these pure feelings, these elevated feelings. And in a sense, I feel to become that detached that whatever people give me is whatever people give me. This is what Baba said to the mothers. But my job, my responsibility, my task is to give the feelings that Baba has given me.
Yes, interesting. How does one deal with really bad feelings towards one person? I really struggle to wish my mother-in-law well. Leave aside best wishes. Although we have just moved out of the family home, I'm not able to forgive my mill for her continuous hatred and abuse towards me since we got married 12 years ago. I am now a Brahmin for 2 years and meditate regularly, but this pain I cannot get over. Please guide, brother.
First of all, it's not easy, but I think we can look at it one level as on an emotional level. And if I feel deeply disrespected, even abused by someone, it is a really, really challenging life experience. But the way Baba's training us is to go deeper. And we understand that nothing happens without a reason, in the sense that a karmic story is playing out. And what happens is the more I think about that personality and how I've been treated, I'm embedding myself more deeply into that karmic account. And it's almost a tug of war. All of us have to face this, that what is stronger, my love for Baba or the pull of this behavior? Because observe, how do you feel when your mind goes, when the subtle thread of your intellect remembers what happened or what you did? You feel so bad inside. You feel so heavy, so unhappy. And actually, Baba has come to liberate us from sorrow, and his method is to actually remember him. And sometimes we actually say, but this is so strong, but actually I can give it strength or I can remove the strength. And sometimes, I feel, am I fortune focused or misfortune focused? Because you have the greatest fortune amongst all human souls, that you know God, you've found God. And I would get so lost in that fortune that the misfortune of the treatment of your mother-in-law doesn't have so much power. But if you get lost in the misfortune, it actually even absorbs the fortune of finding Baba. So listen, these are sort of things that are easy to talk about, but when we have to face them, it needs, excuse me, incredible love from Baba and incredible power to take from Baba. But so many souls have done it, and I really feel you can if you're determined. Try and not let your mind go down that way, because you're just actually increasing your karmic account. And if I could just finish really briefly, sometimes I ask myself the question, am I increasing my account? Am I sustaining my account, or am I settling my account? So if something happens or someone does something, I think, and then I talk about it, I'd say I'm increasing my account. If something happens, and I think, even in meditation, I'm sorting, analyzing, I'd say I'm sustaining. But if something happens, and I look through the filter of God's truth to understand this eternal cycle, this eternal account, I understand it, and then I go back to Baba. I'm settling the account, and the account has less power over me.
Asking how to survive when one is living in complete negativity. Choices are one against the rest.
Once again, I would say the scenarios at the end of the cycle, they are so challenging sometimes. But if I sort of live in only this moment and forget my beauty, my power, my elevated state, and even Baba, I get consumed by these things. I found personally that negativity is really associated with lack of self-respect. And even if people surround me are negative and I'm in self-respect, I won't absorb it much. But if my self-respect is low, then I see the negativity has a massive impact on me. So I would say the method is really to try to build my self-respect. And that method is to feel loved by Baba. Probably the most important thing, not just to have faith in Baba, but absolutely have an intimate feeling of belonging and love. You really feel it tangibly in your life. You will almost have the effect of negativity won't impinge on you. It will still have some effect, but it will be less than before. You know, I think that in the sacred space of my mind, at the end of the cycle, we have, so many negative feelings. We've been habituated to negative feelings. But I think the problem is we identify with them. We think it's me. We really do. It's sort of like, this is who I am. I am a negative person. I'm a weak person. I'm a this, I'm a that. Identifying is such a powerful thing. But actually, what is Baba saying? Identify with your original state. Identify with your soul state. Now, that will emerge automatically more positivity. All of this state, it's if I'm attached to my present state of body consciousness, that's what body consciousness is. I feel in the jail of the present. And it's why Baba often used to say, children, spin the whole cycle. If you look at the whole cycle, for the majority, you've not only been positive, you've been a beacon of light and beauty. I've got to identify with that. Now, it takes practice, because the addiction of identifying with how I feel now, what has happened now, the mistakes I've made now, what I'm like now, actually, it's not really who I am. It's once I remember, Brother Jagdish said, it's like you play a long playing record and you listen to the music of the last 4 seconds and you don't like it. And it's like we're listening to the music of my life, just the last few moments of the Iron Age, and I don't like it. But what's recorded in the rest of the long playing record is so much beauty, and it's very deep. I have to begin to listen to Baba and identify with my original self. And almost automatically, the power of negativity lessens and the power of positivity begins to emerge. It may not be rapid, but it begins to emerge.
How to tell whether the feelings or vibrations you're picking up are your own, or whether they're coming from the other person, or both? And I think you've covered a bit of it, but if you want to add.
I feel God's teaching to us, Baba's teaching is, I am responsible for how I feel. And when I feel that this is the first law of spirituality. And I think this is the key to beginning to change, because as long as I even subtly feel it's other people's feelings, it's other people, because I remember once Baba said, the one who follows the path of falsehood sees others, but the one who follows the path of truth sees the self. And it's not that easy sometimes, but I have to say yes, and even own that, yes, I do have negative feelings. Sometimes I think I was in denial about some things, because you don't want to feel, but it's true. Sometimes we do have, they are mine, but when you sort of own them in one sense, you have the power to change them. As long as you sort of feel it's other people's vibrations, then you're powerless to change them. So actually, that law, I am responsible for how I feel, is totally empowering, because you're taking back the power in your life to change yourself. And that's what Baba's whole teaching is really about me, what I need to do.
Brother Charlie, how can I explain things to a non-Brahmin who criticizes me when I have sattva-pradhan loving reaction to others who are not always loving and kind towards me? This person tells me that I should give as good as I get, and that I'm passive and weak and let others get away with things. This person tends to be aggressive and always sees and points out the faults in others. How can I explain to this person that not reacting and being loving does not always mean passive or weak?
It happens sometimes, and really, I would say just continue as you are, because strength is humility. Strength is forgiveness. Strength is letting go. You know, this is spiritual power, aggression and anger and all these stuff. And it just shows you the deception of our world, that a lot of people feel that to live in this world, you've got to be dominant, arrogant, you know, you hit before you're hit sort of thing. Really, you look, people love someone. Someone will live in, you know, that person will live in everyone's heart, the one who is sweet, humble, forgiving. But you know when to set a boundary when you need to. But you'll set the boundary very clearly, but with love and respect. So if someone is pushing you, taking advantage of you, you can set your boundary, but you don't do it with anger and you don't do it with aggression. And so really you can maintain your sweetness, but that's strength as well. Just learn how to set clear boundaries and reinforce those boundaries so people don't take advantage if they're trying to. And I'll tell you, you are the one who'll sit in others' hearts, not the person who's telling you to be more aggressive and hit back and this sort of thing.
How can we ensure that we transform rather than repress feelings, which can then have a further negative impact? Sometimes we know that feeling is not helpful, but it is difficult to come out of it. And then we beat ourselves up for not being able to do so. So are there any practical suggestions?
Yes, that's a very interesting question, because, you know, I feel what is common when we come in Gyan is our bhakti sanskara. And because we couldn't transform in bhakti, we suppressed and repressed. It's a pretty deep sanskar. So I would say when we come to Baba, we do transform a bit, but sometimes we still have the habit of suppressing. And what sometimes I've seen, and that is that we can be a Brahmin for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And sometimes all this rubbish comes out. You know, stuff I thought I'd changed 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And to be frank, a lot of people feel, oh, it's not working. Maybe I should give up. Maybe this doesn't work. Brahman life doesn't work. But actually, it's the very time to get stronger, because it's sometimes, you know, we have suppressed and this stuff comes out, and all it is, it's a sign I have to go deeper. And I feel sometimes, you know, the first step, we change habits. That's easy when we come in Gyan. After some years, we change our nature, which is more the soft sanskaras of the last few births. But at some point, the deep sanskaras from the beginning of the Copper Age, which are usually, I would say, fear, lack of self-respect, insecurity, deep, deep stuff can emerge with a lot of force. And sometimes the soul really feels this is too much. I've been a Brahmin, I follow pure life, I've done this, and I'm still. But I would say it's just really, it will come up, but keep going, because I think we have to have the power to face our deepest sanskaras. So I wouldn't ever lose hope, no matter how much force some stuff comes up. within me. And sometimes it can come up years after you've started as a BK. Don't get confused. It's almost like, you know, the aim of Brahma life, but the process. This is going to happen. Stuff will emerge. Personalities or situations will trigger stuff. Don't be confused, but know that this is the path of self-transformation. I have to look at it and find solutions from Baba's knowledge and practice.
And Baba's here to give us all the help we need. So a question on that, interesting question here. Baba says when something waste or negative appears, transfer it to me, don't keep it to yourself. But how to give him so that those waste thoughts don't come back again?
Yeah, I think that it's a bit about this identifying again, because I feel it's my waste, it's my weakness, it's my... And so when I identify, it's like holding on to it, it's like taking it back. And in a way, it's like really surrendering it to God. If I do it with understanding, and then really it has less power over me when I really surrender it.
How do we help others to understand when they think we have withdrawn from normal life and normal reactions because we practice our lovingly detached responses? They think we are depressed, unfeeling, strange, abnormal, and they genuinely worry about us. Even want us to go and see the doctors to get us back to normal. Oh, Rachel, I know this well, dear.
I do feel that probably detachment is still the most misunderstood quality, even though I think it's one of the most important virtues for this time. But a bhakti style or a misunderstanding is we're a little bit aloof, a little bit cut off, a little bit disconnected, because sometimes it's a little bit escapist. Often I think many of us feel that, you know, that we're sort of, we're escaping from responsibility. We find things difficult, people difficult. So I sort of escape, and I call it detachment. To me, true detachment is to be very loving, very close, communicating, you know, really there, but uninfluenced by. And to find this balance of love and detachment, it's like such a refined wisdom to find that balance, because if I am getting feedback from some that I'm a little bit aloof or disconnected or whatever it may be, I think I have to listen to it. And maybe, because I, you know, look at someone like Daddy Janki. She was deeply detached, even Daddy G. But what is Daddy G remembered for? Her amazing love. But I've seen Daddy G, she was deeply detached from scenes of drama, people's behavior. And actually, detachment increases your capacity to love. That's a very deep thing, because the more you're detached, you can love somebody when they're in a good stage, and you can love them when they're not in a good stage. You know, but when you're a little bit attached, you're influenced by them. So often our solution is we sort of withdraw. Now, it's a lot to learn, and sometimes people expect you to be so sort of dependent, and, you know, and you're obligated to them and all this sort of thing. And when we're not like that, of course, we do get some criticism. But I honestly feel that if you really give people pure love, soul-conscious love, they, even if you're detached, they will feel okay. They will, you know, they will accept your journey, your practice, your spiritual path.
Can the feeling of fear be in any way positive? Sometimes one experiences fear when the word punishment comes up in the Murli, but at the same time is aware that God is love. So I must be misunderstanding the message. Please explain.
It is an excellent question, because, you know, we're all from different backgrounds, and some from various religious backgrounds. I grew up in a Christian country, but I never really identified with that path as much as I have deep respect for it. And I think that, the God that's often offered is a very punishing, judgmental, authoritarian personality. And so sometimes when we start listening to the Murli, that overlays on my interpretation. And I think really religions used fear to control people. If you don't do this, this will happen to you. I may be wrong, but I really believe, the Hindu belief that you'll transmigrate into animal species was just that, to make people afraid to do the right karma, or otherwise you'll be born as a rat or a tortoise or something. I really believe it's sort of like threats to follow what we want. Baba is absolutely loving, but when you fall in love with Baba, you accept his absolute authority, that his directions are truth. A lot of us found we rebelled against people telling us what to do because it wasn't true. And I've seen many who are quite rebellious, but once they recognize who the teacher is, we surrender. And really, if I put myself under Baba's directions, Baba's Srimat, it's an absolute recipe for deep healing, deep healing.
If I can also just add to this, what you've shared is really, I think sometimes we tend to take the translations, extremely literally. And really, this punishment, be aware of that, okay? The other thing is, I think this punishment is not something that God gives you, but it's something the soul will feel, the sorrow or whatever. So, and then listen, so everything Charlie said is the way. Baba is extremely loving, and his love is totally unconditional, and don't ever forget that. Brother Charlie, would you be able to do a very short commentary on really how our relationships are going to blossom after today?
Let me reflect deeply. And observe the highest pilgrimage I am on. The pilgrimage of remembrance to my eternal beloved. And this pilgrimage is the pilgrimage that fills me with divine, pure, and benevolent feelings. Just observe the subtle thread of your intellect. And with love and with wisdom, let me touch Shiv Baba. Feel this deep, subtle union. I'm connected. I belong. I put myself under Baba's divine influence. And when I do this, the feelings of Baba's purity, Baba's power, Baba's love, live stream into the core of my being. It's like the sacred space of my mind is filled with Baba's light. Remembrance is the ultimate result of this life. And the ultimate result of remembrance is a mind and heart full of the highest and purest feelings. Thank you again, everyone. Om Shanti.